The first of 2 visits we'll make to this Misano circuit in the next month or so. 16 corners around here, 4.2 kilometres in length. The best race lap belongs to Pecco Bagnaia when he was leading here before his fall just last year. He's on pole again. Great overtaking opportunities into the likes of turn 1, turn 8, but in particular the most memorable, turn 14. This was way back in 2016 between Jorge and Valentino. Coming up next in MotoGP then, Pecco Power. Bagnaia is on pole, hoping for double delight. Miller plans to end his podium drought. The Aussie starts from second. Quartararo is third on the Yamaha, defending a 53-point lead. And Pramac riders Jorge Martin and Johan Zarco are 4th and 5th in a Ducati-strong front 2 rows. Good afternoon and welcome back to Misano. It's started to rain at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli right on cue. It's just coming up for 1:30 local time. Drama here with 5 races to go. It's 26-degree air temperature. There's only a few spits for now, but there was rain forecast. Is this going to be a huge twist in the tail here in Misano? Can you believe it, man?
Incredible. What are we? Just over half an hour away from the scheduled start of the 27-lap Misano MotoGP battle. Look, you can see there the Rossi flags fluttering quite aggressively as the breeze picks up. We're a short drive here from the Adriatic coast, the holiday hotspots of Riccione, Cattolica and Rimini. And unfortunately, we're not getting some sunshine here on the coast at the moment. There's been some threatening grey clouds looming throughout the morning. It was a pleasant start to race day here. But the rain has now apparently stopped. So what is the condition going to be like by the time it's race start in about half an hour's time? This man, rain or shine, though, looks like he's the pre-race favourite. It's been perfect, Pecco Bagnaia, Motorland Aragon. So far, so good as well here in his home Grand Prix Misano. For the second time in a week, Bagnaia starts from pole position. The Ducati fans are out in force, about an hour-and-a-half drive from their HQ in Bologna, and they've got again a factory Ducati 1-2 to roar on from the grid. Jack Miller second.
Fabio Quartararo, with 5 races to go, holds a 53-point lead. He will have been given that information that it's raining, and I'm sure that he would be absolutely gutted if it does indeed rain here. If it stays like it is, it's just stopped for now, then no problem. He's got brilliant dry pace. He should be back on the podium. However, if it rains, he said yesterday, we are in big, big trouble. They don't have the speed.
Well, I don't know if he's a religious man, but he's going to be praying now, isn't he, that we get a dry race, because he was struggling big time on Friday. Only 18th in that wet FP2 session on Friday afternoon. And when he was asked about whether or what his chances were if it was a wet race today, he said, of course, he'll give it his all. He'll be trying to minimise the damage, but some doubts based on that 18th place on Friday whether he would score points. I'm sure his heart has just sank having seen that rain start to fall. It has quickly stopped though, and what will happen over the next hour or so when we'll be deep into the MotoGP races. French fans out in force again, just as they were over the border from Spain, from France into Spain in Aragon.
The dark clouds hovering. That means that these people in the VIP village might have to seek some cover soon. In the meantime, enjoy a glass of bubbly, get on the MotoGP Simulator Eagle. Here is Jack Miller then. Now, Jack will not mind if it starts to rain here ahead of this race. In dry pace, he said he'd take a podium. He'd act as wingman if necessary to Pecco Bagnaia. Not had a podium now, the Aussie, since third in Catalunya.
Yeah, quite a few riders, I'm sure, not too upset about the prospect of a wet race. Danilo Petrucci, the Italian, certainly falls into that category. You've probably heard his rain dance from the moon last night. He was hoping it lashes down for the 27-lap battle after a tough weekend on the KTM.
Marc Marquez, it's not been the easiest of weekends after the heroics of Aragon, where he finished second overall. What we do know about Marc Marquez, though, is that if the going gets tough weather-wise, he's one of the fastest to acclimatise. If it's a flag-to-flag race later on, Marc Marquez comes straight into contention.
Yeah, he does. Missed out on the flag-to-flag bike swap in the Red Bull Ring, didn't he, when Brad Binder's bold decision to stay out on slick tyres paid the ultimate dividends. Marquez was looking strong when he crashed out of second place.
Well, listen to that.
Pause briefly, won't we, while we hear that reception. I think he's quite popular in this part of the world. The Italian icon, the legend, winding down towards the end of his illustrious career. This is not the final farewell to his adoring Italian public. He's back here in a month's time for the final swan song on Italian soil, but it's been a difficult weekend so far for Valentino Rossi. Finds himself on the back row of the grid in 23rd place. He's been on the deck. A couple of fast crashes for Rossi already this weekend. The most costly was in Q1 at turn 15, when he looked like he had good pace to potentially threaten for a place in the second qualifier.
Here is the world champion, Joan Mir. Excellent dry race pace. Not bad wet pace either, but yesterday was disappointing. He was gutted with how qualifying went. He has to start the race from 11th. No matter what the conditions are at the start of this 27-lap race, he has to make a good start. If he does that, he's got every chance of fighting.
It must be so frustrating sometimes to be the 23-year-old Spaniard, the reigning world champion. Every session so far this weekend, top 5, looking really, really strong, wet or dry. And then when it really comes to the crunch in qualifying, again missing out, although through no fault of his own. Was it some tyre pressure problems, he thought, with the front tyre in his first run in qualifying yesterday, and then the mistaken box message pulled into the pits when he wasn't expected to, and that cost him a place on those first 2 rows. Mir with work to do from the middle of the 4th row in 11th.
10th on the grid for Maverick Vinales. Excellent job in his second outing on the Aprilia. Of course, home race for them. He has tested here. He would definitely want this race to be dry. As we look at the helicopter views here, then the coastal resorts just in the background there of Riccione, Cattolica as well, and the flags are still flying here with a bit of a breeze.
Yeah, it's that breeze, that quite fierce coastal breeze, which is bringing in this heavy cloud cover and bringing in this rain. You can see now Davide Tardozzi,
pep talk.
Yeah, giving some pretty crystal clear instructions to the factory, the Ducati mechanics. They are Pecco Bagnaglia's crew. They can't afford any mistakes. Bagnaia having got now, not within touching distance, shall we say, of Fabio Quartararo, but the pressure is being turned up on the Frenchman, Alex Rins. He had an excellent 20-minute warm-up session to kick off his race day here in Misano. He was fastest on the factory Suzuki this morning. And likewise, his teammate Joan Mir. In race trim this weekend, he's looked exceptionally strong, second fastest in yesterday's FP4, so do not discount Alex Rins coming from the back of that 3rd row in 9th.
His special Disney Luca tribute helmet here this weekend. He could do with a Disney dream or two today, couldn't he, Aleix Espargaro? Not quite had the pace that he showed at the British Grand Prix when he was on the podium, or the speed he had in Aragon last time out. Another top 10 beckons for Aleix Espargaro, but perhaps not a podium charge for the number 41.
And so welcome back to this man, Andrea Dovizioso, the 35-year-old Italian. Not had these pre-race nerves or butterflies since the final round of 2020 in Portimao, has he, when he was a factory Ducati rider. Completely different ball game now for the former Desmo Dovi, now on the Petronas Yamaha SRT machine for the final 5 races of this year before he becomes a factory-backed rider in Yamaha's new independent team in 2022. Dovizioso has been making forward progress all weekend, but he started from the back of the grid, 24th place. This is all about building experience for Dovi on the 2-year-old YZR M1.
A couple of riders there, Alex Rins and Alex Marquez, scrubbing in their wets on their sighting lap to the grid. Taka Nakagami, 13th in the World Championship. Nakagami had a good record here in Moto2, 3 podiums to his name. He starts 13th today in the dry, top 10 pace. In the wet, don't ask.
Yeah, an absolute shocker on Friday. The wet FP2 session. He was absolutely right at the back of the field. Right there, you can see Jack Miller's former Pramac Ducati boss Francesco Guidotti getting a little friendly kick in the rear, shall we say. Those two had such a great bond, a great relationship when Jack was part of the Ducati independent lineup. Keep a close eye on Johann Zarco. If there's one Frenchman that is going to detest these wet conditions, if it is wet, of course, Fabio Quartararo, Johann Zarco was quickest in the rain on Friday, and he's not bothered about a rain hit race as well, because of course with his arm pump problems it becomes much less taxing physically in wet weather conditions. So Zarco probably doing a bit of a rain jig on the grid as well.
Yeah, he actually openly admitted just a couple of days ago that normally there isn't a rider that wishes for a wet race. It's not something that you really want to happen. Zarco said, you know what, I'll take a wet race all day long. Here comes Valentino Rossi. Remember, last time we had a flag to flag in Austria, at one stage the doctor was in 3rd place. Could you imagine what would happen here if this guy managed to reach the podium? I don't want to get you all too excited. It seems really unlikely. It's not been a great weekend for the doctor. He's been down twice already this weekend, but this is fantastic to see. This is what they came for.
Well, it's great just to see the Italian fans getting the opportunity, despite the ongoing global pandemic, to come and see and say farewell to their hero. What an amazing servant and ambassador Valentino Rossi has been to the MotoGP World Championship. Well, let's hope, fingers crossed, that we need exclusively this range of slick tyres from Michelin here today. Looked like, listening to Simon Crayfire's interview with Piero Taramasso, Michelin Motorsport boss, this morning in the warm-up, in some slightly sunnier conditions, it was going to be the hard front was going to be the preferred pick. Just wonder whether these slightly cooler conditions might sway a few people's decisions. Medium front and rear rain options, and soft rain options as well from Michelin. Will we need to see rain tyres here today? Let's hope not, because this man, the big pre-race favourite, certainly in the dry, he was strong in the rain conditions as well on Friday.
It feels like a big day in terms of the championship here today. 53 points separate Fabio Quartararo and Pecco Bagnaia, but Bagnaia, courtesy of his win last weekend and his speed here in Misano, is the bookies' favourite. Big day for him. Big day for Ducati as well. Davide Tardozzi is down on the grid with Simon.
He is, Davide. Really like to hear your thoughts. Seemed to me Bagnaia looks like he can be there right at the front, whether it's wet or dry. But I would love to hear your thoughts on all 4 Ducati riders.
Yeah, I guess that it will be not so easy, because I guess that Fabio on the dry is very fast and consistent with the medium tire. Our choice is different, so we'll see what's going to happen. The weather, I think that will stay dry, but it's difficult to know. Everybody is prepared for a flag to flag, but we'll see.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Davide Tardozzi. Huge expectations, huge optimism about the performance of this man coming up in this 27-lap race. Pecco Bagnaia in the dry, clearly a pre-race favourite. He's been in the top 3 in every single session so far this weekend, and they are expecting another 25-point haul from their man to keep the pressure ramped up on Fabio Quartararo. 5 to go, 125 points. That's a lot of points still up for grabs in this MotoGP title chase.
You do wonder, don't you, because of the drop in temperatures you rightly mentioned, Matt, that the decision on tyres, what that does do for 1 or 2 others. If anyone was 50-50 on maybe a soft or medium rear, will the weather perhaps sway them towards a soft rear to get maximum grip for the early stages, just in case it starts to dump it down?
The initial tyre selection sheet from Michelin, you're right, Steve, an absolute mix. Zarco, Marini, Viñales, Bastianini, Leccuona, Nakagami, Miller, Piero Bagnaia, Marquez, who we're just looking at there briefly, Pecco Bagnaia, Jorge Martin and Marc Marquez, coming to the grid at least with the soft rear tyre. And then a whole bunch of riders as well have gone for the medium. And then you've only got Nakagami, Aleix Espargaro, Alex Rins, Rossi, Piero and Martin that haven't at the moment got the hard front tyre. You can see there on the graphic the tyre choices that they've come to the grid. Pole for Pecco Bagnaia, then another Ducati 1-2 for the factory team. on row 1 with Fabio Quartararo. 13 front rows in 14 for Fabio Quartararo. Martin Zarco and Pol Espargaro go from the second row. Then it's Marc Marquez, Aleix Espargaro and Alex Rins. Viñales, Mir and Bastianini, they go from the fourth row. You can see the split there in terms of rear tyre choice. 3 riders on that graphic on the medium rear, 3 on the soft. Nakagami, Pirro and Luca Mourinho. They're on the 5th row, ahead of the returning Frankie Morbidelli, who heads row 5 with Binder and Stefan Bradl, the HRC wildcard. Alex Marquez, Iker Lecuona and Miguel Oliveira on row 7. Petrucci, Rossi and Dovizioso on row 8. Has there ever been a more experienced and illustrious and successful back row of a MotoGP race than that one? Petrucci, Rossi and Dovizioso. They must have nearly 1,000 Grand Prix appearances between them.
Well, we're ready for the Grand Prix of San Marino. A huge, huge day for Yamaha as the best GP of 2020 of Emilia-Romagna is awarded on the grid. Let's go down onto the grid because Simon's with Lynn Jarvis. Down to you, Simon.
I am. Lynn, can you please give us your thoughts on Yamaha riders going into this race?
Well, the first thing I have to focus on is the weather, so I hope it stays dry because truly we really need that to have a dry race today. But it's a curious situation, you know. Obviously we have Fabio right at the front, and I think he can do a great race. In my opinion, he can definitely be there for the podium. Whether he can beat the Ducatis and Suzukis, nobody knows, but we'll be there fighting at the front. And then obviously we have some of our other riders in the back end of the grid, but it's important for especially the 2 new guys to really just take this opportunity to get to know the bike again, get back into their rhythm. So we have no great expectations for these guys. But at the front we have a lot of hope, so I think it's going to be a fabulous race.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you very much.
Well, we hope so. Thank you very much, Lynn Jarvis. You just see there down on the grid Paolo Campanotti just going over to Jack Miller, of course, former boss of his Miller. Would not mind a sprinkling or 2 of rain at this particular moment.
Jack getting his money's worth out of the energy gel there as well, wasn't he?
We have Tsunoda here from Formula 1 on the grid, going over to say hey to Pol Espargaro. A nice opportunity for them in one of their rare breaks that they have in the Formula 1 calendar these days.
Yeah, super fast on 4 wheels, coming to see the best men on 2 wheels in action here in Misano. Pol Espargaro, pretty impressive qualifying performance by the Spaniard in 6th place, surrounded by a swarm of Ducati GP21s, the 4 Ducati GP21s actually inside the top 4 places on the grid. Let's pop back down onto the grid and hear about the prospects of Taka Nakagami and Alex Marquez ahead of Lucio Cecchinello's LCR Honda team's home Grand Prix. Simon, down to you.
Yes, Lucio, can you give us the information from your 2 riders going into this race? I see a lot of discussions going on. Is it still tyre choice going on at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely, tyre choice, and of course we needed to immediately prepare the second bike with the rain setup. So there was an hesitation on the rear tire, slick tire, but we definitely pick up the softer compound.
Lucio, how do you feel? Like Taka's looking pretty good here this weekend. How do you feel about him going into the race, and also Alex?
Well, we've been a little bit penalized in the qualifying because unfortunately they were doing a very fast lap, but they've been penalized by a couple of crashes. So as you know, with the yellow flag, the riders cannot continue to push. So we had the red helmets in Alex and Taka on their fast lap, but unfortunately they couldn't finish. So we start quite behind, and will be crucial the start of the race and the first laps, but we have to be realistic. It's not going to be, you know, something like we are going to fight for the podium. I will be very delighted if one of the riders can make up to the first 7-8, and the second one, the top 10, definitely. So this is our target.
Thank you, Lucio. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Lucio Cecchinello, and that really just sums up where Honda are at the moment. Lucio Cecchinello bigging up an 8th place finish and saying he'd be delighted with it.
Yeah, that will not be an easy task as well. Nakagami way down in 13th. Alex Marquez, yellow flags late on in Q1 cost him the chance to get into Q2. A lot of work to do for the former Moto2 world champion from down in 19th place. Not the easiest weekend so far for KTM, but race day always can throw up some surprises. And what about the potential of a flag to flag and a repeat of Brad Binder's Austria heroics? Well, let's see what KTM Motorsport manager Pit Byrer thinks of his boys' prospects. He's with Simon on the grid.
Yes, Pit would really like to hear a few people wishing him luck. Pit would like to hear what you think going into this race. I saw Brad testing the original chassis again on in the morning warm-up, and he looked like he was really strong, like race pace. Also, with this weather hanging around, that most people are hoping it stays away. I'm wondering what you're thinking.
Looks like it stays dry. Since we found a little better setup this morning, I'm confident we can make another Brad attack race, and I would prefer now dry. I mean, if you're really have a bad weekend like we had, you would wish maybe for rain to have something just different, but I don't want to base it on a chaotic race. So I think we found some directions this morning, and I'm sure Brad can do a good race, and the other guys here behind us, I hope in the slipstream the same. And yeah, we need to keep it positive and say it was always my target to be in the grid in front of Dovi and Valentino, so it happens today.
Okay, thank you, Pit.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks to Pit Byrer. Yeah, the change over to the old chassis for Brad Binder worked out quite well this morning in warm-up. He looked a lot sharper than he had done at any other point in the weekend, but he is going to need one of his hard charging days. He's way back on the grid. He's going to need a rocket start. 6th row, 17th for Binder.
Keep an eye on this young man, Enea Bastianini, born within a stone's throw of this famous Misano circuit just down the road in nearby Rimini. He's got great race pace, looked really strong in FP4 yesterday, top 6. He's got work to do though from the back of the 4th row, 12th place.
Here's Luca Mourinho. Mourinho will be heading out from 15th on the grid. Michele Pirot also back, of course, one of the 2 test riders in action here today ahead of a big test coming up next week. Bradl also present on the grid here, 24 riders. Let's hear about the hopes for Suzuki then. Another team who have got a lot of work to do when the lights go out. Mir starting from 11th. Rins just 1 row better off in 9th, but both of them with excellent dry pace. Shinichi Sahara's with Simon.
Yes, Shinichi-san, please tell us what you think about this race. Looking at race pace of both your riders, Alex Rins and Joan Mir, they look fantastic. Like, I think everybody's worried about them. But what do you think? And also, I can see a little bit of a last-minute decision on tyres. Can you tell us what's happening there?
Yes, as you can see on the lap time in the warm-up, our pace of with the race tyre is very good. But as you say, also the choice of tyres a bit tricky for us. So it's not a gamble, but okay, we have the quite a big range for the selection of tire, so I have no big concern about that. Just making a good start as usual to fight in the top.
Shinichi-san, if it stays dry, I'm sure I'm going to see you in Parc Fermé. Best of luck today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much. Well, that's what they'll be hoping for anyway. Sector 1 can be a bit treacherous here in Misano. Turns 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is an opportunity there for the likes of Rins and Mir, but there's also a few gambles and risks that they have to take. They've got to get a good start.
The perfect vantage point for the run down to the first corner then from the VIP Village. One of the hottest tickets in MotoGP right now. Luca Mourinho then, looking very resplendent, pretty in pink in the special Sky Wi-Fi livery for his home Grand Prix. Fair to say, it's been quite a tough debut on home soil here in Misano for Luca Mourinho in MotoGP. He's down in 15th place, salvaged something pretty respectively in Q1 yesterday, because previously he'd found it very, very difficult, struggling outside the top 20 in a couple of the earlier weekend sessions.
Race winner here in Misano last year, Maverick Vinales, of course, on the Yamaha from pole position. 10th place on the grid today. Definitely be hoping for a dry race. Will Top Gun, a top 10 finish today would be more than satisfactory on just his second outing on the RSGP.
Yeah, fair play to Maverick Vinales. He was just 2/10 slower than his teammate Aleix Espargaro, who's been in red hot form of late on the grid. 10th place. Of course, he was on pole in both races here last year. And what is going to come for this man in the next 45, 50 minutes or so? The brave roll of the dice to stay out on those slick tyres when the rain fell heavily at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. And this man has got to be praying that the rain stays away and we get a full dry race, because as Lynn Jarvis said, Yamaha boss, he's got podium potential, and that'll be vital for his title aspirations. In the rain, it's a whole different scenario for the Frenchman.
Well, there we go. A rendition of the San Marino national anthem, followed by Fratelli d'Italia, the Italian national anthem as well. Will we be hearing that national anthem at the end of the 27-lap race?
Well, Italy had to wait until round 13 for their first victor of the 2021 season. It came in the hands of this young man, Pecco Bagnaia. Can he make it back-to-back wins? Only 6 Ducati rides have done that previously in the history of the MotoGP World Championship, trying desperately to join that exclusive club.
Well, that could be a bit of a problem. The flares are out in Ducati red on the exit of turn 16. The race will be getting underway in around about 7 minutes.
Yeah, the red flares then.
Well, the race won't be getting underway in 7 minutes if those flares are still going off.
Andrea Dovizioso then. Will those red flares be needed post-race as well to kick off some wild Bologna factory celebrations for Ducati? They'd love to win here in Misano to keep the gap coming down to this man, Fabio Quartararo, trying to look relaxed. He said this is his pre-race virtually. He doesn't like to go into a bubble. He likes to keep talking to his mechanics, keep talking to his friend Tom. That's the way that he feels that he can relax and prep himself the best for what's to come. 40 minutes or so of hot MotoGP action, 27 laps of this 4.2 kilometre Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli.
Good opportunity for some photographers to get some shots of the riders with the red mist in the background.
Well, 7 days ago in Aragon, this man was untouchable. He resisted the unbelievable pressure from Marc Marquez. And speaking of the Repsol Honda man, he's coming from that third row of the grid. Let's talk to HRC team boss Alberto Puig about the prospects for Marc and Pol Espargaro. Simon.
Yes, Alberto, can you give us your thoughts about your riders for this race?
Well, not an easy race, but it will not be easy for no one. So, but in our case, it was not an easy weekend on the practice, so we expect to suffer a little bit. But anyway, you know, a race has to be done to then understand what were your real chances. So let's wait.
I felt Marc really has the pace if it started raining.
I don't think it's going to rain, but if it's a rain, you know, you never know.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. It doesn't look like at this particular moment then we're going to get rain. One or two team bosses suggesting that we're going to have a dry race here, and certainly some of the dark clouds that were present at the start of this broadcast have just disappeared for now. So it looks like, for now anyway, it may stay dry.
And that means a very relieved World Championship leader Fabio Quartararo. 5 minutes then to the race start. Round 14. The championship chase hotting up between Quartararo, Bagnaia and Mir. The Rossi fans, you can hear them. Despite their man being on the back of the grid, they're in full voice for a triple Misano winner. No win here though on home turf for Rossi, the 42-year-old, since 2014.
Make sure the zip's done up, Fabio, as he gets ready then for this race.
You don't want any more wardrobe malfunctions derailing his victory challenge, just like what happened in the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
There is Pol Espargaro, he'll start from 6th. Jack Miller just receiving some last-minute fist pumps as well from his team. A big race this for Miller as he looks to return back onto the podium for the first time in a long time. He said yesterday he's happy to act as a wingman to Pecco in this year's World Championship.
Alex Rins on the back of the third row, an all-Spanish third row with Marc Marquez and Aleix Espargaro. Great race pace all weekend and great pace this morning in the 20-minute warm-up session.
Yeah, he could spring a surprise, Alex Rins, with a good start here today. Alex Rins and Joan Mir both looking to become the 9th different winner in MotoGP for 2021.
Yeah, the first time since 2000, 21 years ago, since we've had 6 different nationalities winning MotoGP.
So here is your front row then for the Grand Prix of San Marino. Fabio Quartararo on the Monster